Hi, everybody. This is Trey, your boy with Let's Just Talk Fitness, and I am back again with a whole nother interview. And this person, where do I start? In terms of just the vibe you get from this person. I remember just first scrolling on your TikTok and just again getting a sense of who is this person. I think actually I ran into a comedy TikTok of yours. It was something like I forgot what you said, but it was something like you were stretching or doing some type of workout, and it was like I might as well stretch this out since someone's son isn't stretched. Something like that. I'm not sure if you remember. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I was
Got me. Yeah.
like,
I was like, should I even post this? I
no,
don't
I'm
know.
glad you posted that. That's what made me follow you. That's what made me resonate with you. I was like, this is, I was because you look like you got this professional looking content, but then at the same time, there's this hidden humor that's there.
Totally.
I said, I gotta follow this because I need to see more of this. But um, before we get into that,
That's my most viewed TikTok too.
I
Who
know,
would
I
have
already
guessed,
know.
right?
Oh no,
You
I
gotta leave
know.
your comfort zone.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Or actually, you probably were very comfortable. You know what I'm saying? You let yourself go. You let your humor out. But
Totally.
that actually was the first TikTok that I remember. In regards to scrolling on your page. But again, guys, before we introduce her, I just want to just let you guys know that you will definitely be inspired by this specific interview because again, this person has truly done things I think that a lot of us would love to do, but probably would also be very terrified to do. And I think that your mindset has to go a certain place to have been able to experience them. So again, not to put her above anybody else I've interviewed, but at the same time, there's things that she's done that I think a lot of you could benefit from or are even inspiring to do. So with that said, man, make sure that you like the video, share the video, comment below also if you have any question, comments, if you want to, again, also share your fitness journey, share your story. Hit me up in the DMs, let me know so that I can share your story and that you can do what she here is doing also today. But with that said, man, let's get right on into it. Nikita, how are you doing?
Trey, I am doing so well. Thank you so much for having me on your show and just reaching out. I'm grateful. I'm blessed. I'm having the best day of my life every day, even on bad days. Like I'm can't
Mm,
complain. So,
mm.
just like you, when you're living your passion, it's just everything is amazing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I was telling y'all actually before I even press record, I was like, the room is a vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like just looking at your room literally seems to be your mental space. You know what I'm saying? If that makes
Yeah.
any sense, it's like from the picture on your wall to the lights to the accent wall, the black wall. I know about the accent. Shout out to my girl. She told me about accents, but the accent wall, you know what I'm saying? Every single aspect of you it seems to be what you are internally or what you're feeling internally. So again, I had to ask you to come on because it was literally, it was just the vibe. It was the vibe that captures me as well as others, and we even know a few of the same people actually. One of them is Alan. I think you know Alan, right? Yeah, dope,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
dope guy. I mean, he's just like you. You know what I'm saying? Like y'all both are that supportive, diehard. You know what I'm saying? So I love that aspect of you as well as him. But I was like, hey, likes attract.
Yeah.
But with that said, I definitely want to go into just a little bit about you in regards to just your childhood and where you grew up. You know, what aspect of Nikita in terms of her childhood has led her to how she is today and just, where you're from and things of that nature. Could you just share a little bit of that with us?
Absolutely. So my childhood, like everyone's childhood, has such a big impact on who you
Mm,
are. And I grew up in a really in a great place and also a really tough place. So I grew up in Inuvik, Northwest Territories,
mm.
which is the last city you can go in Canada all the way north before the Arctic Ocean.
Wow.
And yeah, there's only 3,000 people that live there. And just to give you an idea, if you were to drive from Vancouver, like one end of the US, all the way to the other, that's how far it is, but like north, straight up in
Wow.
Canada.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So very far. And I grew up being very grounded.
Mm.
I grew up with the indigenous Inuit people of the Arctic up there. I
Wow.
learned how to how they live off the land, how they hunt, how they trap furs, how to respect land. And there was that aspect of it, which was amazing. And growing up there was so much fun. Me and my siblings,
Mm.
we were all born there, like playing in the snow and just
Wow.
being a wild kid, right?
Yeah.
And then the darker side of that was we were the only colored family in that town. And some of those
Oh.
people I'd ever seen before. So there was a lot of racism, oppression, bullying that I
Mm.
faced on a weekly basis.
Wow.
And, on a couple occasions, I even saw like my father getting into physical fights. He was a proud man and he would stand up for himself. But as a
Mm.
child, right, before 10 years old, that's when we moved away from there. That caused a lot of trauma
Mm.
that led with me that like I still had until I was an adult.
Mm.
But I remember, and also, growing up my parents are both from India.
Mm.
Growing up in this East Indian household, like I saw and like felt the oppression that my
Mm.
mother faced
Wow.
from my father, and he was never physical with her, but the emotional like abuse, the yelling. And I just remember as a kid with the bullying, with the racism, with seeing my mom how helpless she was, I was like, I never want to feel this weak and
Mm.
this vulnerable and this
Mm.
helpless ever in my life. So
Yeah.
as soon as I can, like I'm going to build myself up, and I never want to be in this position ever again.
Mm.
So from there, like I grew a very strong like mindset and resilience. And then when we moved to BC in Canada, and I started playing athletics, and I
Mm.
played rugby,
Wow.
that was so therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
And that, even though I didn't know it at the time, but like me
Mm.
getting into athletics, me getting out of my head, being able to digest my emotions, like just running and sprinting was so good, so therapeutic for me. It helped me not resolve, but like manage a lot of my trauma and stress
Mm.
and angst. And then yeah, when I got into university, that was the first time I discovered the gym. And then that took
Wow.
it to a whole nother level, right? When I would get into breakups or
Mhm.
be faced with trouble, right? The gym was always there. It's always like my meditation, my therapy. So, but yeah, that's really how my childhood shaped who I am. And I saw how fitness exercise helped me throughout the toughest moments in my life. And then, like, this health and fitness wasn't even my first career. My first career was environmental sciences because my parents wanted me to go into that. And I was
Yeah.
like, sure. But I
Mm.
always wanted to do fulfilling work. So when I got into the environmental science field, I was like, this is not fulfilling.
Mm.
I'm just doing the bitch work for everyone and writing
Mm.
reports. Like, I don't want to
Mm.
do this. I'm gonna die
Mm.
in this desk. And I'm like looking around at other people. I'm like, are you
Yeah.
guys okay with this? Like, are we just we're gonna do this? Okay.
Oh.
But I was like, not me, not me.
Mm.
That's fine. Everyone, there's a role for everyone in the world. This is
Yeah.
not what I was meant here to do. And what am I good at? What gift do I have to share with the world? And it was fitness and health and taking care of your body. And that's what I'm doing today. And that's why I'm so grateful I get to live my purpose. And
Mm.
from that pain, that childhood pain, came something so beautiful that I just want to share with the world. So, yeah.
Okay, there's a lot there that you said that I have questions. like,
Take your pick.
hey, I'm gonna tear it apart. Let me see. Okay, going back to you being in Canada, you living in a small village. You said it was a village.
Basically.
Indigenous people, you said, in some sense.
Yeah.
Wow, that not now again. You're the first person I interviewed that has said anything like this. No, the first person I have known that have said anything like that. I'm dead serious. Like that is amazing. But again, I've always been fascinated with that lifestyle. Like you said, learning how to respect the land, learning how to nurture it, and get from it. You know what I'm saying? That is something that I'm sure most of us, if we had to do that, we would straight up die because we don't know anything. Right?
Yeah,
Like
right.
we don't know anything. First off, nobody knows these days know anything about respect in general. So it's like respecting the land. That would be yeah, we would die. But
Yeah. Straight up, yeah. But then I was like, you know, like my upbringing, and not to be a narcissist about myself, but I'm like, look at this mindset that I have. Look at this groundedness I have. Like, I need to share this with people. People
yeah,
need this right
yeah.
now in this day
Mhm.
and age. It would be a
Oof.
waste if I didn't, you know?
Mm.
So let
Oof.
me channel what they taught me to
Yeah,
the
I'm
people
telling
down
you.
here.
Hey, I'm telling you, like, again, I don't think nothing happens without a reason. It's literally I think a reason why everyone's in the journey or where they are now for the aspect of benefiting others. And that showcases in your childhood. And with that, you stated that again, you were with indigenous people, but you also experienced so you're in this village, 3,000 people. That's nothing. You know what I'm saying? That's like that's not even a county. I don't know what that is. That's like that's just that's like a college class, a 3,000 high school graduate class or something like that.
True.
And you
Yeah.
experienced racism, you said,
Yeah.
in that whole aspect, or being in there until you were 10. You experienced it. So you got a pretty good bit of it, knowing exactly what you were kind of experiencing. You could feel those emotions, being what, 9 or 8. So you, in some sense, had an idea. I guess in some sense, how did you find yourself coping with that? Because I guess in some sense, like you said, later on throughout your life, you end up finding fitness to be something that was therapeutic, and then going into rugby and all of that. But that was later. How did you cope with that as being a young child, a young kid, 8, 9, 6? How did you cope with that? Or what were ways that you find yourself doing to cope with that?
Good question, Trey. Good
Yeah.
question. Well, honestly, survive. Survive, right? And the way I knew how to survive was to blend in.
Mm,
And I already knew or felt that me and my family were different, that
mm,
we, stuck out like a sore thumb.
yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to give these kids, people, whatever, a reason to make more fun of us. So blend in, act normal,
Mm,
try to be kind of on the cool side,
yeah.
be strong, not bottle up your emotions, but yeah. Oh man, like I was a bully a little bit here and there because I saw the
Mm,
cool kids would
mm,
bully other people. So like, oh, if I want to be cool, I gotta bully
yeah.
some other people. And I just like I said some things to some kids I wasn't proud of. And
Mm,
I did reach out to them later and apologize, but fit in, basically blend in and be strong, put on a strong front.
yeah.
Even though I have such like a young, like jovial, happy spirit, I
Yeah.
had to like crush that down
Right.
and just try to fit in. And I don't even think I really knew at the time
Mm,
what it was, because I remember there was a stop racism, anti-racism day. Uh,
Nikita, I'm
yeah,
sorry, not to cut you off, but again,
yeah.
I'm not going to cut this out. It's going to be very funny. There's a huge bug that's crawling up my wall right quick. So let me kill this thing, because I've never seen a bug like this. Like
Oh my god.
one second. I'm gonna pause it, but 1 second.
Yeah, so I don't even think that I knew at that age what I was going through and how it would affect me. I remember there was a anti-racism day, like anti-bullying, anti-racism
Mm,
day, and I was about grade 4,
yeah.
and I asked my teacher, like this is
Mm,
how naive I was. I was like, "What's race? Like, why do they want to stop races? I like races." And she says like the only brown kid in the whole thing that like this whole day probably was for me, but like she was like, "Oh no, that's like I don't know what she said." She's like, "That's like racism. That's racism." And
yeah.
then from there, I was like, "What's racism?" And they're like,
Right.
"Oh, is that what it is?" And that was the first time it kind of
Mm,
clicked. But before that, I mean, I was just playing survival with the
right.
kids and trying to fit in. So yeah.
Wow, wow, that is, and I love that you said this, because there's another person I interviewed, and you can go back and check actually her snippets, because he talks about it in some of her snippets. Kaylina is her name, and she was in the military and all of those different type of things as well. But she talked about being bullied in, I think it was high school, and all throughout her school years, because in some sense she was just very quiet. Maybe you could even say shy type of female, and a lot of people would pick on her in that regards, and she was bullied as well. But her experience or her way of coping with it was different from yours. I've never actually heard yours, and that is blending in. So in some sense, the person being bullied becomes the bully. You said I've never really, you don't really hear that too often. You usually just hear people trying to avoid it. They may lie and not go to school. Some may commit suicide. It's all these tragic things. But you actually took on the image of the very people who were bullying you. Is that what you're saying?
Not to their extent, for sure.
Okay.
Like definitely nowhere close to that. It's all a line, right? Like those kids, those bullies have a rough parent, like they have rough parents. They're the ones that face hardship from the line up. So that like pretty much got transferred to me. So I didn't, because there was only like once or twice that I said something that I wasn't happiest with, but I took the bullying and just like created armor and had to be strong from that and pretended like it didn't faze me, even though it did. And I fought back in some instances. Like I remember my brother he's 2 years younger than me, and he got it a little bit worse than I did. But I was the one that would fight back. So they didn't mess with me as much. But I remember we were both walking home from school, and one of his bullies was running right by me. And I was like, I'm going to get this motherfucker for all the times he hurt my brother. So I just and this kid's running pretty fast. And I just stick my leg out and he trips over it and he like falls on gravel. Ooh. And
you have it.
Oh yeah. And he just turns around. He's like, fuck you. And I'm like, yeah, remember that. And he did. And he did. And he didn't he stopped after that. So sometimes you gotta fight fire with fire. And I was a pretty scrappy kid like growing up, and I would like fight with arm wrestle, Indian leg wrestle with the guys in my class. Like people just mess with me a little bit less, but I'm such like an advocate. Like even with my friends now, like I'm a lion. If I see someone disrespecting my friends, my circle, I'm like, attack. So yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love it. And again, I'm starting to see how this has shaped where you are now. I actually am. Before you even go into it, I'm starting to actually see it. The things you've done. I'm seeing the mentality. I'm seeing where all of this is coming from. And that is dope. Oh my goodness, that is dope. So again, you're in this small indigenous village in Canada. And now you say you went from there after 10, you moved to BC. Okay, so BC in Canada. And you're here. This is where you're starting to get into sports. You're starting to get into rugby and all these different type of things. What led you into, I guess, that way of expressing yourself, that way of coping with, I guess, whatever you've maybe dealt with, or just even in general, letting that frustration or letting that aspect of Nikita express itself? What led you into sports and that aspect, the physical aspect of things? What made you think of that option? Yeah.
So from Inuvik, we moved to Abbotsford, BC, onto a blueberry farm, and which was also a little remote, but to me, we were like, oh, the big city, but it wasn't even that big city. It was still like a farmland, baby steps.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, my dad made us work, me and my siblings, on that farm so much. And like, I loved working on it. I learned a lot. But also at the same time, there was a lot of like oppression of little Nikita. Like I wanted to go out and hang out with my friends and like do this and that. But my parents were super strict, being East Indian, right? And especially being a girl, right? They would only let me hang out with my friends a little bit, and I had to ask for everything. And so from this like oppression as well, like I had this angst inside of me. I had my little emo phase. Like Blink 182 was my favorite band for so long. My Chemical Romance, like all of them.
Oh, My Chemical Romance. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. So and then when I discovered athletics, that was an outlet for me all of a sudden. Like when I just started like
Mm,
sprinting, I felt like a wild horse that
mm.
had been trapped for years, and just like letting that all out. And I was like the fastest girl on my team.
Wow.
And yeah, look at this trauma. Leave my body. So yeah, that was such a healthy outlet for me, and I felt
Yeah.
amazing, and I had that sense of like community, and I was good at it. It was the first time I it yeah, I was good at something. I loved it. And I had this I just had a very more disciplined mindset
Yeah.
than other people that I saw, than my siblings. Like my parents also put us into speed skating, short track speed
Oh
skating
wow.
there. And yeah, that was amazing too. Outside of that, I would always train extra hard. I would always do the
Mm,
stretches. I would always take the initiative to do these things. And from a young age, somehow I knew that getting into my body, like out of my brain, it just helped me release. It was I felt that clarity. I felt that how good it felt after.
hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's why I kept doing it. And I was like, I like it. I'm good at it. And I feel so alive when I do it.
Mm.
So yeah.
Ooh, I love
Mm.
that. I love that. I love that.
Mhm.
Again, the whole aspect of you again expressing yourself physically, and then on top of that, you hit on a lot of things that also, in some sense, frustrated you know the inward Nikita, or your internal aspect of you, and that was being from East Indian parents, being a female, being all these different things that a lot of people would say in some sense, you need to know your role, or you need to play your role, or you need to
Oh
stay in
man.
this field. Yeah, I know.
I got that a lot. Yeah.
I have a lot of East Indian friends, and one of them particularly, again, I would see the difference between him and his sister. It was very different with the guys. It seems to be very much so like, just yeah, you do whatever you want. But the females, like even with the ones I've tried to like even date, it's like nah, you can, like in some sense, one of them actually, she actually was on my live and would jump on my live a lot, but she had to like go to Snapchat in order to talk to a male, or one of them would have to delete their accounts, and it's just like this strict hovering. And I'm not saying your parents are like that, but I know that cultural aspect in a sense. But to see how you didn't let those things limit you, you didn't let those things, define who you were, or in some sense set a standard for you, but you surpassed it. Again, it goes into, I know some of the things we'll go into, and why I can see why you went there and how you got there, your mentality. But again, that is absolutely amazing. I think it's really dope that you found that as an outlet, fitness and just sports, and anything physical, to get out of your mental head, in a sense, to have an escape. Now, fast forwarding to today, and just in regards to someone who may scroll on TikTok or Instagram when they see Nikita, the question today may be, what does she do? What exactly are you doing today? That we kind of hear your childhood, and how you've kind of progressed from that. But what today have you done? Are you still in environmental science? What is your occupation as of today?
Now, I left that behind in 2019 when
Oh,
the
wow.
pandemic hit, when I got laid off.
Mm,
And something that you touched on to just now, and I am called to talk about it, like what I do now, and is one of the reasons why I got started, right? Like I mentioned before, in a way, I feel like I'm that voice for that underdog,
mm,
and that voice for women to stand up and be stronger and speak up for themselves. Because like I witnessed that when I was young from my mom being oppressed, and how
mm,
it is in the East Indian community. And I saw so much of it because when I moved to the farm, there was a lot more Indian people there,
mm,
but I witnessed so much of that female oppression. So this is a huge reason why like I stuck to my guns, why I'm like, yeah, I'm a girl, I'm brown, I'm in the
mm,
gym,
mm,
and I feel strong.
mm,
And I want to inspire other females, most like East Indian females as well, to
mm,
do that, because like nobody can take that away from you. This working on your body, and building that confidence, because that confidence has been so squashed out of so many of them. And it just breaks my heart just to see so
Yeah.
many of them like just be a wife to their husband. Like,
Mhm.
you're so much more than that,
Mm.
right? And yeah, it means a lot to me that I have the opportunity to do this. So
Yeah.
now, right, I'm a health and fitness coach,
Yeah.
but I only started my online business literally like a year ago. So
Oh,
I'm still getting better.
wow.
Yeah. And every day is a new day, and I'm still getting better at posting more content. And even I forget what my like I forget to say my purpose because
Mm.
it is vulnerable in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so right now I'm like more comfortable posting like fitness videos or nutrition videos, but I know like it's got to come out that this is why I'm doing this, and this is why I'm such a
Facts.
huge advocate
Ooh.
for health and fitness. Like, the feeling that I have, like, there's 3 men out there who
Mm.
I've beaten in an arm wrestle,
Mm.
and that feels amazing. Okay.
Mm. Let's go. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, for these, I want other women to walk down the street and just feel like they can hold their own a little bit more than if they're frail, right? Like,
Mm.
you do not need a man to open jars for you. You can do it
Mm.
yourself.
Mm.
And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
jar is just symbolic for other stuff. So
I
yeah.
love that. So health. Now you're a health and fitness coach, and that's kind of, and you see, wait, hold on. You've only been doing this for a year.
The online training, yeah. Like, I was a trainer in the gym about 4, 5, 6 years ago
Oh,
now.
okay, okay,
6 years
okay.
ago. And then I went back into the environmental science world, but I was still personal training on the side because I loved it.
Yeah.
Because I moved cities, and I knew if I moved cities, like, I didn't have a big client base.
Yep.
So I got back into the environmental world, but I never gave never gave up on the fitness lifestyle. So yeah.
Let me dive into that. That's actually where I want to go now. And that is going from environmental to your passion, to fitness, or to trying to go all in on what it is that you truly do enjoy. You again, we share the same story. And again, guys, I told her about, because I'm pretty sure if y'all been following me, you know about my story in terms of the pandemic, how I lost my job, and kind of took this leap. You pretty much described how you had that same experience. Could you walk us through how you felt going into that, into your passion, or going into chasing or diving into what it is you enjoy? Can you walk us through the emotions, the fear, the doubts, the people around you perhaps that were saying you're crazy, or you should be doing, again, going back to the appearance and what are you doing? Or could you walk us through what you were experiencing through that time, in terms of you losing your job during the pandemic and things of that nature? Just a little bit about that.
For sure. So I would trace it back to the first time I decided to take that leap, and that was in 2015. I had graduated university, got my environmental job, and I was in that for 2 years. And in that 2 years, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm gonna die here. Like, my soul was dying. I felt it. And then I was like, okay, well, what am I gonna go back to school for? Like, what am I gonna do? And I thought about doing kines, physiotherapy, all this kind of stuff. But I was like, and I actually went back and did a year of school in engineering, because I was like, I still a part of me wanted that like professional career that, make good money, all that kind of stuff, like that dream that we get sold that seems so appealing, but it's not really us, right? And I did it for a year in the engineering, flunked out, thank God, because I realized I was in it for the wrong reasons. I was in it for power, respect, it looked good. But it was a positive redirection in my life. And then so after when I dropped out, and I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to become a personal trainer. I feel like real life experience, actually getting in there and seeing if I will like it, will do me so much better than school.
Yeah.
And then I remember when I told my dad that, he was like, well, you're not going to just leave 5 years of university to go be a personal trainer. And I was like, watch me. I was like, oh yeah.
You told him that? You told him?
Yeah. I was like, I'm doing it. So,
Ooh.
I wasn't living in his house anymore. I was like, I'm a grown girl. I can do what I want. And let me just see how it goes. And that was a big ego hit, because honestly, I went from 5 years university, working a cushy downtown job, to all of a sudden doing something somebody straight out of high school could do theoretically.
Mm.
Right. And but I was like, dude, this is my passion. And
Yeah.
I was happy not making the most money, but I was happy learning, just grateful to be there every day. And from there, kept building up my experience, kept building up my knowledge, and then went back to the environmental field for a little bit because just to make more money and stuff. But then there was still always that calling inside of me. So then when I decided to go back to it again, like after I got laid off, which was almost a year and a half ago, I remember again, my dad, my parents, they were like, what, like, how are you going to be successful off that? Like, just get a real job, like environmental science, like do this, do that. And I was like, no, like I'm doing this. I'm doing this.